Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about where exactly Batwoman went wrong with viewers and stuff now that the show has been canceled, sadly. Because, when you stop and think about it, this show has been controversial ever since before it aired, even before Elseworlds aired and everything. There's just been confusion and anger and just left and right. So here are some of my thoughts of where the season went wrong that irritated me, and some other stuff that irritated other people that I don't necessarily agree or disagree with, but I'll let you know if I do or not and stuff like that. And it's quite a shame because this show could have been so much greater, so much more, but it was always surrounded in controversy. And that's the bad thing. This show was doomed from the start and everything. But hey, here we go. So, Batwoman was created by that of Caroline Dries. If you don't know who she is the one who was with her roommate in her dorm apartment or something like that doing 9/11 bombing, and she captured a lot of footage that was shown on the news when they was running and stuff like that. I never knew that until I just looked her up. And she has tons of writing credits, everything from Smallville. She wrote the Batwoman introduction into Elseworlds. She has worked, I think, on The Flash, Vampire Diaries a lot. And she's written a lot of episodes for that of Batwoman, and she is the showrunner for that of Batwoman. Now, her biggest mistake was the casting of Kane Batwoman. Look, nothing against Ruby Rose and everything. I don't think she's a bad person. She seems all right. Heck, I used to crush on her back when she was on that prison show and everything. Until she slimmed down. When you lose all that meat on your bones, I'm just kind of like, I don't know. It's just, she was just too thin for my opinion and my taste and everything. But anyways, Caroline was adamant about casting Ruby for the role, and that's the only person she had in mind. And so when that was announced, people were like, no, 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 no. Have you seen her acting? And that's my problem with Ruby Rose. Her acting is not very good. She started off as a model and thought she can just become an actress, and so she did. Now, the first thing I ever saw her in was the last Resident Evil movie that had Mila in it. And that movie was a disaster. And Ruby Rose acting just was not good. It's always stiff, like a plank of wood, and I don't understand it. She needs a true acting coach. When she gets one and as she goes to acting classes, she will be better probably. And so when I heard the casting of that, I just wasn't happy. There were so many other people they could have went with, but they didn't. And what made it worse is that for other people, personally, I think she should have got that lady who played Al in Fear the Walking Dead. They look similar. Al's known for playing like a lesbian. She can act better than Ruby. No offense against Ruby, she just can't act. There are so many scenes that I saw where I'm just like, you need to give something, and she didn't give it. But I still think the best time she ever had when she had banter between her and Luke. Now, one problem other people had was that I don't know exactly what Ruby's sexuality is, but by that time of getting casting, I think she was like bi, and people was pissed because they all like, Kane is a lesbian. How dare you get a bisexual person, this and that. And I think also Kate might also be Jewish, and I don't think Ruby is. So that pissed a lot of people off because representation matters and everything. Now, not being like lesbian and bi, whatever, it's like, I mean, if you're bi, that's kind of like being a lesbian because you like girls and everything. So I don't see why that was like a huge problem and stuff. But I do understand why people wanted like full, true on representation and stuff. So yeah, they could have went with a natural lesbian character, but like I said, I don't know what her sexuality is and stuff. Because I know a lot of times there are a lot of straight people who play gay people, and there's a lot of gay people who play straight people. That's just how Hollywood is and stuff, and stuff. Now, one mistake I think they did was when they came out with the series, they had it be a prequel to that of Elseworlds, that crossover. What they should have did was set it in the present day, or whatever present day that was set in Elseworlds, and then when you want to tell the origin story of that of Kate, do it in flashbacks, because this caused a bit of problems continuity wise here and there at times, especially with that of the suit and the neckline, which I'll get into a little bit later. Actually, I'll probably get into it now. I didn't even know that the neckline had changed, because see, I started watching Batwoman season 1, and I watched a good number of episodes thinking, okay, where's this gonna go? Is it gonna get better? Is it gonna have better action? But after a while, I was just kind of like phasing out, to where I phased completely out halfway towards the end and everything. And that's why I really didn't pick up on the whole neckline thing until I was watching this other dude's video, and he mentioned that the neckline is completely gone in the costume because Ruby had some kind of like back injury and stuff like that. And so then I'm like, oh yeah, like where did it go? Because then all of a sudden in season 2 it came back, so it's kind of like that don't make no sense and everything. Now, one huge mistake that this show had even before it came out was that of the first trailer. I've mentioned this several times before. I will always be pissy towards that trailer, because why they pissed on Batman? See, the CW, they love to cater to certain groups, and once they find out what those groups are, they flood their TV shows with those type of groups. They did this before when they was both UPN and WB. I've talked about this before. When UPN started, it was a sci-fi it was started off as a white comedy, white action drama type network. Then that didn't work out. So then they went to sci-fi and then started having more improvements. But when they added their first black series, people gravitated a lot to that. So then they started having nothing but black series towards the end of their run. And they only catered to that a black like audience. This pissed off the creator of Dilbert because his show got canceled as a result. And he blames that. And he sounded kind of when he said it, so he needs to watch his language and everything, because he angered the black community and everything. But I understand his frustration because his show got canceled, but it was only because the network went in a different direction. It wasn't because of black people per se, it's just they went in a different direction that made them money, and it did make them money, and it did give them ratings at a time and stuff. So what you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? Are you just gonna go back to your old formula that didn't make you successful, or are you gonna go to the new one? You know what I'm saying? And the WB, they found success in white dramas and everything, so they catered to that. But then when they merged, the CW went back to the WB formula of just white series, and there wasn't another black series until around like 2009, I think, about like a whole 10 years later. And so no, wait, was it 2019, I think? Anyway, I know 10 years, about 10 years passed, and they didn't have a black series on the CW, and then they finally did after the last one got canceled. I think, okay, that's it. Yeah, the last one got canceled in 2009, and they didn't have a black series until around 2018, 2000, probably. So it's around sometime like that. It's around that. I've said in one of my other videos, so find that. Stuff. I'm forgetting the dates, but yeah. So, but then they realized they had like a strong like LGBT following. So naturally they started flooding their shows with them, because a lot of people are saying this Batwoman and Legends of Tomorrow had like a lesbian lead. It did. Some people are saying it's the first lesbian lead series to get canceled. It is not. Well, actually, okay, Batwoman is, because they had a lesbian lead, but Legends did not. They had a bisexual lead. So, but that's not the first bisexual lead show to get canceled. The 100 was, because in that, the main character was bisexual and everything, but she gravitated more towards female than she did men. And so, wait, what was I talking about? I completely forgot. I started going into this whole UPN, this and that. Let's see. Oh, okay, now I remember. They pissed on Batman and everything. Now I remember where this is going. So anyway, modern day television is all about female empowerment. Good for that. But they do it sometimes in a bad way. Sometimes they do it correct. Like, if you want to do it correctly, my best way of female empowerment is that of Xena, that of Queen of Swords, that of Dark Angel, that of Kane and Kara from Legends, what's that called? Legend of the Seeker, stuff like that. But new modern day feminism is all about constantly telling you women are empowered and making men to look like bad, or making men to look weak, or trying to embarrass them in one way or another. And so when the trailer came out, Luke literally tells her that this suit is perfection. Like, Batman made it to the T, you know what I'm saying? He made it so great that the only thing that can destroy it is a kryptonite like bullet or this specially designed gun and everything. That's the only thing that can penetrate it. And so Ruby Rose Kate Kane character tells him, oh, it will be perfect when it fits a woman. That has rubbed so many people the wrong way. I cannot even begin to tell you. It was all on the internet, and it was done intentionally to be a slap in the face, not only to Batman, but men in general and stuff. And somebody approved this. I don't know if it was Carolina approved this. I don't know if it was a network that approved this. I don't know who made it like that, but somebody did it. And it rubbed people the wrong way. And I remember asking two women online that are YouTubers, and they both are feminists. Of course, they didn't have a problem with that line. They tried to tell me, oh, you're thinking too much into it. No, you're not thinking too much into it because you're not seeing the real picture. This was meant to, like, just be a huge slap in the face to that of both Batman and to that of men in general. And it was done on purpose. And it backfired on them to where the show got so much hate even before it came out. And you know, of course, who hates on it. It's gonna be Batman fans. And it's also that whole troll fandom menace type people and stuff. And they latched on to that big time. And they made it to where even the most casual viewer didn't even want to turn into Batwoman. So that was their biggest mistake of all that first came out before the show even came out. Now, what happened when the show actually came out? Well, one mistake I had was the disappearance of Batman. Okay, fine, I get it. Batman has to be gone because the biggest mistake they made was when they tried to tie in the Batwoman series into that of Arrow before the whole Crisis thing. So they was on the same Earth. And a lot of people have been asking themselves, well, where the heck is Batman and where the heck is Bruce Wayne doing all this stuff doing Arrow? And they even had Arrow make fun of like Bruce Wayne and stuff like that. Talking about, oh, Batman's not real and this and that. And it's just kind of like, why would you make fun of the dude before he even appears in his own show, but he doesn't even appear in his own city in some way or another, or before the show comes out? So that was another missed opportunity, the whole disappearance of Batman. They just did that wrong. It's just like, oh, he disappeared. No explanation. And we now know why he disappeared. Oh, because, well, we think we know. Because he tried to save Kate, who is his cousin. And he's much older than her, about 10, 15 years. And he couldn't save their mother, who is his aunt. And Beth ended up turning to Alice. So I guess he got sad, depressed, and left. Batman getting sad and depressed and leaving Gotham City, that's not cool. That's gonna anger people. And they've done this crap before. Birds of Prey 20 years ago when Rachel Scatton starred in that. And it's like they didn't learn their lesson. It's like, because he left because Catwoman, his lover, died from the hands of the Joker and stuff like that. And then he fathered a child that he knew about and still left the city. And it's just like, it makes Batman look like a punk and everything. Another problem I had with the series was kind of like making both Ryan and Kate a little too perfect when it comes to that of Bat tactics and not giving them enough flaws to begin with. See, when both ladies started off doing the whole Batwoman thing, they tripped, they stumbled, they couldn't nail their landings, they couldn't throw the batarangs and stuff. And I like that. That made it show that they had some flaws and everything because they're very new to this whole thing. Now, Kate, she has training in military training, so I can understand she knew how to do combat, stuff like that. And she knew how to, probably rappel on a rope and stuff like that. But Ryan only has martial arts training and street smarts. The fact that, because here's the thing, because they both have flaws for the first couple of minutes in their first episodes. Then somewhere halfway into the first episode and into the second episode, all of a sudden they started being better at stuff, really quickly. It took Kate a little bit longer, but it took Ryan within seconds to learn the ropes of learning Bat tactics. And throughout their seasons, we saw them doing some really impressive Bat tactic stuff, using the grapple rope, disappearing really fast, fighting like everybody in the Arrowverse, which they need a new choreographer. People need to learn how to fight differently. But yeah, it's doing all of that stuff. And it was kind of like, how did they learn so fast? It made them too perfect in the eyes of the viewer. And I can understand what Kate could probably pick up on a little bit better because of the military training, but Ryan shouldn't have been able to do none of that stuff. Hanging upside down from a rope and doing all this other stuff and beating up people twice their size. That just didn't make no sense. And so that was something that was a mistake in my opinion. And also another big mistake came in the why can't they throw the batarang? It would have been so much better because the viewers assume, oh, it's because they just can't throw, they're not a marksman or something like that, or a markswoman. And so that was perfect. But then they had to explain, oh, it's because of their arm length. And the batarangs are calibrated to the length of a person's arm. So since Kate and Bruce have different arm lengths, that's why she can't throw it, so they recalibrated it. But then Kate and Ryan have different arm lengths, so they had to recalibrate it for Ryan. And then now all of a sudden they can hit something as good as a dart on a dartboard, and I'm just like, no, that makes them too perfect. Another missed opportunity is the lack of Bat gadgets. Now, when you're a Batman fan, one thing you love is the Bat gadgets. They help him do his detective work and all this other stuff, but plus they're fun to see. And in this show, how often do you ever see any of the Batwoman use any of these gadgets? How often do you see them throw a batarang? Very rare, probably 3 times, once each season probably. Could you imagine if Green Arrow never shot an arrow or never used his bow? There wouldn't be no point calling him Green Arrow and stuff like that. And so when both Kate and Ryan did their detective stuff, you never really saw them even do detective stuff because they're not detectives and everything. But the gadgets could help them figure stuff out, like it helped Terry and everything. And so that was a huge missed opportunity. The Batmobile was just a regular race car. It looked like crap, no effort put into it. There was no bat signal. People love the bat signal. They could have done something with that. They could have done something with all these gadgets, but nothing. No smoke pellets, no bombs, no batarangs, barely any grapple action. No something that can detect certain fingerprints and nothing like that. No gadgets of any kind. My God, what's really embarrassing is when the Adam West Batman show turns out to be a whole lot better than all this modern day Batman-ish type shows. Because at least the Adam West show did a lot. They had action, they had a cool Batmobile, they had tons of Bat gadgets. They had a cooler Bat cave and everything. They had villains, you know, I mean, yeah, it was campy and wacky, but at least they did Batman type stuff. Now, one problem I had with season one of Batwoman, because I started watching, and as I'm watching, I'm just like, okay, where is this going? This is some interesting drama, some interesting love drama. But where is this going? And then I just phased out. And the reason why I phased out, because they focused too much on the whole love aspect of Kate, Batwoman, and oh, what's her name? The cop lady. I forgot. I used to know her name. The detective black lady. I'll just call her detective lady for now until I can remember. They focused too much on the love aspect of that. And it was like the entire season was devoted to like that. And it's like, you know, Kate and that lady, they dated Sophie, that's it. Sophie. So Kate and Sophie, they dated like years ago when they was in the military, but Kate got kicked out when, you know, she found out she was a lesbian and stuff like that. And so then when she finds her many years later, Sophie is now with a dude. And she's just kind of like, you know, what is this about? You know, this isn't you and stuff like that. So it became this huge love, not necessarily a triangle, but like a quad, or like this huge thing between her, the dude, Batwoman, and the secret identity and all this other stuff. And so like, and they focus way too much on that instead of doing stuff that actually have to do in Gotham City. Because the thing about this is that she is Batwoman. Fight your villains, fight, you know, the corrupt people and stuff like that. And you can have a love drama aspect in it, but don't let it be the main focus of the series and stuff. And that's something the CW loves to do. And it's something that ruins all their characters and all their shows. Now, one problem I had was Gotham City itself. 1, it's too clean. 2, it's too nice. And 3, where are all the supervillains, and where are all the gangsters, and where are all the corrupt politicians and cops? Where were they? It took many seasons for them to explain what happened to certain Rose Gallery of Batman, because his Rose Gallery just all of a sudden disappeared. Like, what happened to the Riddler? What happened to the Joker? What happened to Two-Face and Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn and all these other people? They just all of a sudden disappeared when Batman disappeared. That made no sense. And also, what didn't make no sense, but where are all the gangsters? Why isn't the street dirty? Why is everybody so calm on being there? This is Gotham City, the scariest place on the world. And so, where were the corrupt police officers? Because for the most part, the Crows weren't really corrupt in season 1. In season 2, they started to be. And so, it's kind of like, you need that in Gotham City. This isn't Metropolis and everything. The best Gotham City was that of the Gotham TV show. Another mistake they made was getting rid of the Crows. That was an interesting element that they had in the show. This elite police force that came in when Batman left to help protect the streets, because Gotham PD was pretty much non-existent throughout the entire show. And you never really saw the cops and everything. And so the Crows interfering in Batwoman's vigilante stuff was great for the show. Getting rid of them was completely stupid. Now, one problem other people had, not myself, was the whole LGBT lesbian aspect that the season 1 focused on. I didn't have a problem with that because they did it in a way that was very teachable. Or not teachable, but is it thought-provoking? Is it teaching? Some phrase I can't think of right now. But it helped me see in the eyes more of what they're going through. And it was very educational. I'll just say educational, because I can't think of the phrase I want to say. Because, you know, I'm straight. I'm not like any part of the LGBT, but I can understand some of the things they go through, but I don't fully understand what they're going through because I'm not part of that group. You know what I'm saying? I can hear their struggles, and that's the only like glimpse I have into their world, that of hearing and seeing. And so TV shows are very educational, like Pretty Little Liars with Emily and stuff like that. And the whole LGBT aspect was that, like, here you had Kane, who got kicked out of the military for being a lesbian. And I'm pretty sure that's probably happened in real life at some point in time, or some other place like law enforcement, something like that. Then there is the whole, will the world accept a lesbian superhero? Well, for the most part, a lot of people don't accept lesbian couples, so why would they accept a lesbian superhero? So that was kind of cool, touching on that aspect. Then there was the whole Sophie not wanting to come out and wanting everybody to think she's straight because her mom had a problem with that. That was good teachable stuff. So I don't know why people had a problem. Well, I know why people had a problem with it. But I look at it like this. LGBT stuff, lesbianism, whatever you want to call it, is just as natural as a straight person doing what they doing. And we see straight people doing what they do in TV and movies all the time. Nobody ever complains about it because it's natural and whatever. But the moment like an LGBT person or a person of color does their own cultural thing, then all of a sudden people have a problem with it. We all know that group of people that have a problem with it and that race that has a problem with it. And because, oh, it's not what they do, so they get angry about it and everything. So that's a problem they had with it, but it's not a problem I had with it. But because they had a problem with it, they made sure they let everybody know so they could hate this show even more. And when you hate on something, it's like monkey see, monkey do without the intent. Your subconscious will pick up on that and stuff. Like there are times when I do see stuff that are like, what could be considered as woke, and I'm just kind of like, oh, they're doing that. I'm like, wait, why did I just say that for? I'm like, wait, that sounds like one of them other people and stuff. But then when I see it, like sometimes I will cringe. Like when I hear the word strong woman all the time, I start to like cringe. I get tired of hearing that. But I'm like, wait, why am I cringing for it and stuff? It's like I could care less about it and everything. And I like strong women and stuff like that. Who wants a sap? Because think about it. The reason why there's so many strong women and characters in today is look at the secretary from Ferris Bueller Day Out. That secretary lady was mentally inept. And she was wrote that way because she is a female and they wanted to make fun of women. It's the same thing with that Star Trek, the original series, backdoor pilot of that one spy man who had his assistant, and that assistant was a female and she was dumb as rocks. And this is why they're trying to push this whole woman agenda and stuff like that, strong women stuff. But I do kind of get tired of just hearing the phrase strong women all the time. Like I get it, and I get why they do it, because they want younger girls to pick up on it, like a triggering word and stuff. And so let's see what else I can think of. Now, another problem people had that I didn't was Rachel Maddow being the voice of that woman on the radio. We never got to see her, but we heard her voice in every episode of the first season, and once or twice in the second and the third, because she kind of like disappeared. Now, why exactly did she disappear? Maybe she's busy, maybe she's not, or maybe because of all the backlash that she received and everything. And she received a lot of backlash. Now, I personally don't even know who this woman is. I know she does some type of like talk show type thing, and she talks politics, and that's all I know. And so, of course, this was triggering the people, but who was it triggering to? The fandom menace and Republican people. And, when it comes to the fandom menace, they know for a fact they didn't watch this show. So, but it was triggering to them because they don't like her. Now, of course, there probably are going to be some Republican people that watch this and stuff like that. And if they don't like a certain person, like say Rachel and everything, then of course it's going to be triggering to them because at some point in time, she probably angered them and stuff like that. So I get that argument. But at that same time, it's just a person on the show, and get over it. You know what I'm saying? Like when Rush Limbaugh was on Family Guy, I don't like him. But I didn't frown and moan and complain when, he was on the show and everything. When Kevin Sorbo was on Supergirl, I no longer like him and everything. But it's just like, okay, whatever. If you don't like him, then just don't watch and everything. So I just didn't watch that episode because I just don't want to look at him no more because I used to be a huge fan. Now I'm extremely disappointed in him and I cannot stand him because he's a bitter tool and everything. And he sounds like a hateful bigot now because he is bitter because his life is kind of just like his acting career just kind of went, you know what I'm saying? And he's just become a bitter tool and everything. And so I just don't like or respect him no more. And I still don't understand why they cast him because his values are completely different from that of Supergirl. But they wanted to show that, hey, we hold no grudges and everything. And that's a cool thing. But it's just like, for my take, I just didn't watch that episode. So, but I can kind of understand why people will get upset about a person they don't like on the show and they kept hearing her voice. But it's not like she talked throughout the entire episode and you never saw her. It's only she would talk like in the beginning and towards the end. And that was it. And you could put any face to it that you wanted to. But people got so triggered by that and stuff. Now, another mistake they made was really not giving Mary not much to do in season 1. Like, Mary is pretty much non-existent when you stop and think about her as a character in season 1. She's just the underground, like, doctor person who has like a secret organization where she just treats people who can't afford it and stuff like that. And that's cool and everything, but they really didn't make her character really worthwhile. You know, like, her character didn't really like start to like blossom until like a little bit more in season 2 when she got to do a little bit more and say a little bit more, and she got to like have her own style on the show. Then of course in season 3 she really exploded on the show. And you know, the actress, when you look at her style, the way she dresses, that's pretty much just like her. Like, she wore all these like cutesy little outfits to make herself pop out and stand out from like everybody else, because she had to, because Mary was kind of boring in season 1, you know. Now, a huge mistake that happened was something that apparently happened behind the scenes that fans did not know about. And that was the toxic behavior that went on set. I made an entire video on that, so go watch that. But apparently, there were a lot of bad stuff that happened behind the scenes that Ruby Rose spilled the tea on. Starting with that of Caroline Dries, her co-worker she didn't get along, unsafe working conditions, her neck injury, the reason why, like, you know, the costume had to be like adjusted in the neckline, and all kind of craziness that went on. And it's kind of like, dude, if you got that much problems on your show, why should people trust Caroline with any other show? Why? You know what I'm saying? Because apparently she's not that great of a showrunner and stuff. So go watch that video, because I don't have time to keep going back into details of what really all happened and like my thoughts on that. But basically, it was your typical network cover up and stuff like that. And this apparently is still going on today, because I think Dougie, what's his name? Scott, I believe it is. He wants to take Ruby to court and everything. Now, of course, the biggest mistake again was after Ruby left the show, they were screwed. Their main lead left the show, and nobody knew why at that time, because the truth didn't come out. And so the smart thing would have been to recast Kane, because this is the Batwoman show based on her character. And, you know, because the character, I never read the comics, but people love the comics. I've only seen her in Batman Bad Blood, and she was awesome in that. How and why they didn't make her as cool as the animated one, I don't know. But anyway, this is their way to make up for a mistake they made. They could have cast a new actress who was better. I'm still, you know, I want that lady from the Fear the Walking Dead, but they brought in, and everything. So they could have improved on the character like they did in the animated movie and make her really cool, because they didn't do that in the show. And so that's the smart thing would have been, is just start with recasting the role and continue the story. But no, they made a stupid decision to get rid of the character, bring in a brand new character. And people didn't want a brand new character. Now, I will get into that later, because I do like the new character, and I like the actress and everything. And the actress is a whole better than Ruby. But here's the thing. Nobody wanted Ryan Wilder. And they created Ryan Wilder. But nobody wanted her. Because she's not Kate Kane, and the show is supposed to be about Kate Kane, who is the cousin of Batman / Bruce Wayne. And so but they was holding out on Ruby coming back. But after all the stuff we now know, what the world made them think she would come back? I think the showrunner had a crush on Ruby. Because think about it, it was her only choice. She was adamant about her coming back. Never happened. And a lot of people do have crushes on Ruby and stuff like that. And so that was their biggest mistake, because then when they came out with season 2, they had to basically, it was a restart, a reboot of the series, and we had to get to know this new character. And they had, but and then you think they would go on with different stories, but nope, nope, nope. And here comes another biggest mistake, which brings me to my next topic. After they created a new character and everything, they gave us little bits and pieces into her background and stuff like that. But the thing is, the show never ever really focused on her. Instead, the show was still fixated on Kane because they wanted to finish up that storyline. So it ran for the entire second season to where it focused on her and all the characters that surround Kane. So introducing a new character is stupid because all the characters on the show revolve around Kane. So the show still revolved around Kane in the second season. And that was so dumb, to the point where they finally did recast a person. And so it became more focused. And then when Kate disappeared and decided to vanish and leave, it's kind of like, oh, that's it? Like, this character you created for the fans that like Kane, this is what like you do with her? And so that whole thing of like swapping faces and this and that and different personalities and being brainwashed and being mind controlled, and it was just like too much. Nobody asked for that. And it's either kill that character off or they should have just recasted the person from the beginning. But then I feel bad for the actress who plays Ryan Wilder, because the second season wasn't even really about her and stuff. Because like I said, it's still focused on the Kate storyline and stuff. And we got to know little bits and pieces of her background, but that was about it. And so she just felt like a stranger on the show, you know what I'm saying? But then by the third season, you know, people were familiar with her and people wanted to know more about her and everything, and more about her life and everything, but we didn't really get much of that. And that brings me to my next point. Who is Ryan Wilder? She's basically a Kane like ripoff. They went again with like the lesbian thing, so you know that's who Batwoman is, so that's fine. But one thing the network made a mistake in is that the network did kind of like that reversal whole, oh, the suit would be perfect when it fits for like a woman. They announced that we're going with another lesbian and we're going with a black character. This pissed off a lot of people because, of course, they don't want to see a black lead in the show. But here's my problem. Stop advertising it. Just let it happen and let people see it for what it is. And that's the problem that the CW, WB, and CBS does. They like to advertise their people of diversity to rope people in and stuff like that. But then when they're roping some of those people in, some of those people just like, well, we don't care. Like, that's nice that we're represented, but we still not gonna watch the show because it's not our type of show. But then it does bring in certain people of their group. But then it also brings in the haters and everything. And then the haters, they hate on it before the stuff comes out, and it causes other people to hate on it as well because now they are being brainwashed. This is exactly what happened in Star Trek Discovery. In the third season, when they brought in a transgender person and a non-binary person, and people was hating on that like fiercely and everything. And then when those characters showed up, people were still hating on those characters. And then they started to write those characters pretty okay until the next season came and those characters became very annoying. So then, of course, not only the haters, but the people who liked those characters was hating on them. And it's like, stop advertising and just present it to us and let us have our own opinion of it. That way people won't have to like convince us, oh, this is gonna suck because ooh, it's woke and everything. And like the same thing happened with the CW Charm series. Because of Trump trying to turn all white people against like Hispanics and Mexicans and stuff, they said, hey, this Charm series is gonna have 3 Mexican leads, and they're gonna be feminists, and there's gonna be lots of girl power and strong women, and one's gonna be a lesbian and everything. And people was just kind of all getting like antsy, talking about why are you trying to force this on us? And see, that's what people get. People say, oh, when they start advertising stuff, people feel like it's forced on them and everything. So that's when all the haters come out. And even some of the people who don't hate on that stuff get kind of irked by that. One of the original Charm cast members was pissed because she's all like feminist. Oh, you're trying to say our show wasn't feminist for 8 years? So she got pissed about that. And then I made a joke talking about, oh, I bet the Piper character is going to be the lesbian one because her name is Mel. And it turned out to be true. And stuff. So they just went with like a cliche and everything. And in that first pilot episode, my God, they kept saying the word strong woman like over 100 times. And the demon, who's a male demon, he only attacks. Are you ready for this? Strong women. Not regular women, not men, but strong women. So it's kind of like, dude, it's great you want the representation. It's great you want to have that diversity. But sometimes it does feel a bit forced at times because they're trying so hard to cater to people. And they didn't even cater to a Mexican audience because two of the Charm sisters on the show aren't even Hispanic in any way, shape, or form. They're half black and half something else that's not even Hispanic. There's only one actual Hispanic on the show. So how are they trying to cater to Hispanics? You know what I'm saying? And wait, what was I talking about? I completely forgot. And it's hot. So my mind is kind of like, ooh. So, let's see. I was talking about Ryan. And how people was like just hating on her just because she was gonna be a black lead lesbian and stuff because they advertised it. But also they gave us this character and they didn't do nothing with her. I think I said that. What was I going? Third season. We still don't know much about Ryan and everything. We now know she has a biological mother and she has a brother, but then the show started focusing on the brother, the mother, all the people around Ryan except for Ryan. And then they had the nerve to force the Sophie and Ryan relationship on us because of course they needed to keep the actress who played Sophie on there because they couldn't find nothing for her to do. And so they like, okay, well, let's just make her a love interest, and she was Kate's love, and let's make her Ryan's love. And it's just kind of like, dude, let her be her own character, give her her own love interest and everything. And that's not fair for the Sophie character and stuff. So it's like within 2 seasons, what do we really know about Ryan? Oh, she was framed from like a crime. She got put in the system. Her biological mother and brother are alive. Her biological brother got messed up by the Joker. And her adoptive mother got killed. And what she blamed Alice for. But Alice didn't even do nothing. And now that brings me to, wait, before I get into that, then here's the other thing about Ryan. They literally tried to give her everything Kate, Kane, and Bruce Wayne had. Like, cause Ryan, her adopted moms are like, oh, you're gonna start teaching martial art classes because that's what you can do. Why couldn't she do that? No, what did she do? She took over Kate's gay bar. And then they don't even really show the bar that much. So what was the point in giving her that job? Then, because Kate inherited everything Bruce Wayne had, they gave it to Ryan for some bizarre reason. How does Ryan know how to run a $1 billion company? She don't. But they gave it to her because they couldn't think of nothing else to give to her. So that was just pissing on Batman again. And then what happened? Her mom ended up buying it from her and everything when her mom was evil at that time. And so it's just kind of like because they knew Ryan didn't know what she was doing. So the writer's like, crap, dude, we got to write this out somehow. And it's like they kept giving her everything that Kate had. And that was just annoying. Even the villains. Because think about it. All her villains were Kate Kane villains from the comics. When they did the whole Terry McGinnis thing, they gave him his new villain. Now, some of those villains were Batman villains, but they reworked it around to where they never appeared on Batman the Animated Series, so then Terry was able to have them for his own. And they couldn't do that for, like, Ryan and stuff. Now, let's bring into the other thing. Sophie. Sophie had absolutely nothing to do in the third season. There was no point for Sophie even being there. Now, I like the actress. I want the actress to be there, but there was no point for her being there because she did absolutely nothing. She had no job. How did she pay for her bills? They had her hanging around Alice and everything, which was funny, but then they took that away and made her the love interest of Ryan. Not only did they make her the love interest, they turned her into the cliche term that I heard on Scream Queens called a predatory lesbian. She kept pursuing Ryan endlessly, and Ryan really didn't want her at first. And she's all like, Ryan, I liked you since I first met you. Really? Because you didn't like her when you first met her and everything, because she was a criminal and stuff. And she hated you because you was a cop. And so that was just a forced relationship and everything. And then they had her hooking up with Renee Montoya when, of course, Ryan didn't want her. And that was just like, dude, give Sophie something to do or write her out. Now, the smartest thing to do would have made her the new Commissioner Gordon and everything. She's a former, like, Crow's cop. She has military training. She could have been Ryan's eyes and ears like Commissioner Gordon. They could have even did the bat signal thing. Oh, Batwoman, so-and-so broke into the museum or something and stole an artifact that is actually magical and blah, 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 blah. See, she could have done that. You know what I'm saying? The next mistake is Alice. Too much Alice. I get why Alice was in season 1 because of Kate. Once Kate left, they should have just got rid of Alice. Sadly, I love the actress, but there was no point in having Alice in the second season. But they kept forcing Alice on her from second and third to where she kind of served a little bit of a purpose, but not really. And they never truly explained what caused her to go crazy in the head and have all those hallucinations in the third season. That was the only storyline that never really got wrapped up. And so, like, but then they had the problem of they had to give Ryan a reason to hate Alice. So, okay, fine. She killed her adoptive mother. Oh, no, wait, it wasn't her because Alice had a nice girl moment back when she was evil and didn't kill her mom. It was actually some, like, dude in her army, kind of like a Xena Callisto type thing. And I'm not throwing my camera just now. And so, like, but then they started to redeem Alice in the second season with a love interest. And then they started to redeem her in the third season, wanting her to be the big sister to that of Mary and having her turn good. And it's kind of like, look, I've said this before. Instead of introducing Ryan, why didn't you just redeem Alice and make her the new Batwoman? She has ties to the criminal underworld, and they could have redeemed her. She could have still been edgy, kind of like a Jason Todd kind of thing, but still trying to do good and everything. Because if you're going to redeem her in a way, might as well make her Batwoman. And they didn't go that route. And so it would have been a whole lot more interesting because then she would have to deal with the Batwoman Bat family. And of course, they don't like her, but they're forced to stick with her because, you know, people think she's Batwoman now. And yeah, the next mistake they made was making Luke slash Batwing into a weenie for 2 full seasons. Now, in the first season, I was okay when he got punked out by Kate. She's a lot tougher than him, and she forced him to show her like the Batcave type thing. That was fine. And he was the smart dude. He was the Cisco. So he held his own during season 1. And that was completely fine. But then by season 2, something happened. He turned into a complete weenie. He became super soft. He was still the grumpy dude that he is, but they kept making him look weak in other aspects. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it a million times. Everybody on from season 2 and 3 was smarter than Luke, and he's supposed to be the brains and everything. They was able to figure out simple things that even he could not figure out. Like the whole trying to find that lady that used to hang out with the Joker. She disappeared, but then one of them's all like, oh, she has really big glasses. She must have a unique prescription. And Luke's all like, oh yeah, why didn't I think of that? And it's like, dude, you wear glasses yourself. That should have been the first clue. But no, because they made him into a dumb weenie and everything. I didn't notice the whole weenie thing until Mary punked him out for the whole Batmobile scene. And I was just kind of like, Dude, you let Mary punk you out. The girl who barely had anything to do in the first season, who's super soft, who's super weak, and you let her punk you out? And it's like, first of all, how does Mary even know how to drive the Batmobile? It's not a regular car. Luke knows how because his dad created, so he got to probably tinker with it and work with it. He should have been the prime person to drive it when Batwoman was taken out. But no, the writers made made Luke look weak, like a weak man, because the show does focus on women, and it is in the modern day television storytelling, where women are strong, men are either weak or evil. And so because of that, Luke was literally weak and everything. He literally turned into that of a weenie. Now, when he got shot and they gave him PTSD, that was fine because, you know, that gave him like a flaw, that gave him something to chew on, acting wise, stuff like that. But then he became Batwing, and that's where the huge problem came, because his father wanted to see what a black Batman would look like, but yet he covered his face up. Now in the comics and in the animated movie, you can see Luke's mouthpiece that shows he is indeed a black man. With him wearing a full-on helmet, you don't know who's underneath that. And so that defeats the purpose of what his dad wanted. Another problem was, why did his dad want him to be a superhero? Because Luke's not tough and Luke can't fight. But then all of a sudden, when he becomes Batwing, all of a sudden he can fight now. And it would have been nice to see him train and everything. That's the problem I had with Terry McGinnis. They never showed him training to be Batman except for one episode in the last season. And so then there's the whole anxiety thing in the fail-safe in the suit. Now, while Luke was doing the whole superhero Batwing thing, which he was supposed to be introduced early on in the second season, but since they brought in Ryan, they didn't want to overshadow her. That's fine. I totally get that. But then his dad created a fail-safe that whenever he feels a little anxious or a little bit of anxiety, the suit will shut completely off. Now, what if he's flying in the air? Could you imagine going splat? And so, like, the weeness continues. So, like, Bane 2.0 is chasing Mary. First of all, Bane 2.0 is on steroids. He should have been able to outrun Mary, but Mary was able to outrun him, so that's fine, whatever. Then she's able to get the jump on him and get away. How? She's weak. He has steroid muscles. Then Luke comes in and get his butt kicked by Bane 2.0, but is able to get the upper hand on him at the last minute. And so, but then the weeniness continues because Bane 2.0 is the one who shot him as a cop. And so they could have wrote so much good material around that, showing that he has PTSD from the gunshot thing, which they did. And that could have been like, you know, some really, really good drama and stuff. Kind of like Cold Case on CBS when the main lead got shot, and every time she heard like a pop, she thought it was a gun and everything. And she's a cop, and it was freaking her out. But then he disabled the fail-safe, and then he's like, oh, I can do this and everything. So then he starts doing the whole Batwing thing, but then after a while, he starts to be like, I'm scared, Daddy, where are you? Turn my suit off, and everything like that. I'm just like, dude, you are such a weenie, and everything. And then it's just like, seriously, it's like, they made him tough to look tough, but then he was just a weakling. His dad had that dumb fail-safe thing in the suit, and then everybody was smarter than him, and I mean every stinking body. Like, it just was ridiculous. Like, he couldn't figure out where Poison Ivy was hid. It's just like the whole eye prescription thing, and then the whole thing about the whole black mask thing. It was something that was happening, and he couldn't figure that out. He couldn't figure out how to find black mask. And Ryan's all like, "Oh, why don't you just tap into the TV feed?" I throw my camera again. Tap into the TV feed signal. He couldn't figure that out. They made him into a weenie, and they did that on purpose because he is a man. And I will keep saying that because it is the honest to God truth of the matter. And people don't want to see that for what it is and stuff. And it's all because of modern day television storytelling of like the strong, empowered female like person. So they have to make the man look weaker to make the women look stronger and stuff. Now, season 3 was good. They brought in a bunch of new characters. Caroline Dreys wrote the Mad as Hatter story, and that was a really cool thing. Problem is that I still don't like the whole Marcus Joker .20 thing. That whole storyline made no sense. They could have explained it just like in Batman Beyond. It's a microchip that turned him in that way. No. Apparently, the joy buzzer takes away certain emotions in a person and causes you to be evil and crazy. That don't make no sense. That's magic. Okay, that's not even technology. So that whole Joker 2.0 thing, I never liked any aspect of that. I never liked any part of that. Because the explanation of how he turned to the Joker made no sense. He didn't, and people assumed, okay, the Joker tortured him. No, the Joker really didn't torture him. He just drove around on a bus. Of course, it scared little kids, but then he zapped the dude, and that's it. And then to make him turn back normal, you have to zap him again? And Luke couldn't even be smart enough to fix the joy buzzer? Seriously? And then not only that, but the woman who helped the Joker out isn't even Harley Quinn, it's another lady, and apparently she helped kill Jason Todd. Oh, so you took Joker's greatest moment away from him because you had to show the Joker being pissed on like you show Batman being pissed on? So the Joker couldn't even do that, so he had to have help from this person? And not only that, but she is the one who creates all the Joker's weapons because the Joker's not smart enough to do it on his own? Like, come on, man. Like, it's literally a slap in the face. That's all that is to these legendary characters that people know and love. Somebody knew. Somebody knew that this was going to be the last season of Batwoman. I know they're trying to play it off online like they didn't know, but I bet you somebody in higher ups knew that. Now, I know the people at CW already knew that, and probably Warner Brothers too. And I don't know what the world's going on with this whole Discovery thing, but look at it like this. Batwoman season 3 finale wrapped up every storyline and still ended on a cliffhanger. So it's like they was worried they might not get picked up for season 4. So they wrote everything in a nice little bow to wrap up everybody's storyline. And then they also like, well, maybe we can get a season 4. So they had this whole Grundy thing. And it's just kind of like, I think they if they didn't know, then they feared. They feared they weren't going to get a season 4. That's probably better. And so that's why they wrapped everything up in a nice bow and tried to do the whole cliffhanger thing. But maybe somebody knew. Because think about it. People in higher ups who work on TV stations, movies, and studios, stuff like that, they don't tell you the full truth. Look at this whole Ruby Rose thing. There was a lot of bad stuff going on there, and they never said nothing. Look how they treated Brandon Routh. Look at all the people who have left the Arrowverse. Something's going on behind the scenes. You got so many main leads of the show wanting to leave the show. And so it's kind of like something's going on. So I bet you anything is something somebody ain't saying and somebody knew. Because now more stuff is starting to like get canceled kind of thing. The whole Wonder Twins thing on HBO Max, that's gone now all of a sudden. And they were supposed to start production and everything. Something's happening and they don't want to know. But this was just my list of things that I saw going wrong in Batwoman. And, I probably didn't mention the action. There should have been better action. I mean, Arrow had great action season 1, but there was little action in this show. So I'll add that to my list as well. There wasn't enough action, and there wasn't enough good action. And so that was a big bummer because they wanted to rely more on storytelling. And this is supposed to be a superhero type show. I think I already mentioned the Bat Family, but anyway, where the Bat Family at? So it's like Batman leaves and everybody else leaves. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole Julia Pennyworth thing. Yeah, people got upset because she wasn't black like in the comics. But to be fair, she was white in the original comics before everything got turned around and then she turned black. So I really don't really care about that. They could have had her in the show more, or they could have showed after Crisis, all of a sudden she turned black. That was a missed opportunity and everything. Um, but yeah, it's just like this show was always riddled with that of controversy, even before everything even started. And it's quite a shame because the show never had a chance to even try to succeed, and they struggled for 3 years. So why should anybody trust Caroline Dries and her writing team to do Gotham Knights? And she struggled for 3 whole years on this show. And it's kind of like, obviously, she can't cut the mustard. You know what I'm saying? Because she's a writer, but this is her first time show running. And it's clear that she needs more help in that department because she ain't exactly there. It was a dumb mistake bringing in a new character, not recasting the character. And then when you bring in that new character, it was dumb not focusing on that character. I mean, they focused a lot on Kane and who she was in the past, but they couldn't do that to Ryan. And that was a missed opportunity. But yeah, this is why I just think where things in the show just went wrong. And it was an easy decision to make when they wanted to cancel this show. Because it's kind of like, this show is like literally limping on like, on its toes and everything. Mufasa did not die for this. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.